Hi, I'm Tracy Sofra and this is the Women of Wealth podcast. Welcome to episode 5. And it's all about values and how does values connect to money? Strange question you might ask. But when I first heard of the term values in my own life many years ago, I thought, What? What do you mean? What are values? I was a little bit clueless, I've got to admit. But I guess I've never thought about it, or I had never thought about it in that context. And what I learnt was incredibly powerful in the way that I live my life now. Because understanding who you are, what you stand for, what your not-negotiables are, who you are at the very core of, I guess, your heart and soul, really provides the pathway in the way that you're going to lead your life and the decisions you're going to make. And a lot of the time when you feel a sense of when something's not aligned, you know, that feeling of something doesn't feel right, it just means that whatever you're doing or whatever your actions are not aligned with what you believe to be true as the person that you are. So that was a huge turning point in my life to first and foremost discover a thing called values, which we all have and we all, you know, essentially or innately feel, but it's not until it's kind of formalized or put in a way that you can articulate it, that you can recognize it, and that you can kind of articulate it and document it and put it right there in your face and question every single decision you make, whatever goals you set, however you lead your life, need to be aligned with those values. And then there's this congruence. Then there's this meaning, I guess, in life, and knowing that you are being true to yourself and everything feels right. Everything in the pit of your gut feels right. So when I discovered this thing called values, I obviously did a values exercise, and I'm guessing most people can Google this stuff. There's 1,000,001 exercises out there or questionnaires that you can take to discover what your true values are. And the key really is to nail, if you can, this is really hard, about 2, and they're words. They're like, your values are, for example, for me, it's about trust, it's about loyalty, it's about freedom, it's about courage, it's about justice, it's about fairness, it's about family, it's about love. There's a lot in there, right? So how do you then take those and kind of see that fairness and justice are one of the same, and love and family potentially are one of the same? So you start reducing the amount of words that you've got until you come down to 2, which is really tough, but maybe 4 is doable. And when you've got to that point, that's when, I guess, what's really important at that point is to document them, put them in your face, and make sure you're aligning every single decision you make about that. And when I did mine, one of my key values, and still is and always has been, is freedom is huge for me, but financial independence, the ability to look after myself for the rest of my life without relying on anyone else. And I have shared my money story with everyone. And you know that my money story is that I lived from paycheck to paycheck. This is what I saw at home, because money's a skill not taught. And I took that on into my early adult life. And that was my behaviour around money. That's how I was managing my money. And when I did the values questionnaire, and this particular value came up so incredibly strong, I kind of had this, oh my God moment of, holy shit, excuse the French, but if that's what I'm really valuing, and if my behaviour around money is living from paycheck to paycheck, I haven't got a hope in hell. I think there's something terribly wrong in this equation. What am I doing? And that was a massive aha moment for me, and understanding that there was no congruency there. There was a total mismatch. How on earth was I going to be financially independent as I got older, in my older age, and having that money behaviour? So this is why what I'm talking about today, what I want to share with you today, is how is money related to values? It's intrinsically related, not only from that point of view of what I've shared with you, but also come and think about this. Everything that we value in life, and let's talk about families, security, education for the kids or helping the kids out, being able to create memories with family members in terms of holidays and Christmases and buying homes and all the stuff that we value. And I'm generalising, but, you get my point. All of that has an economic currency related to that. You can't get a house without money. You can't create those type of memories with family without money. You can't create security or financial security without money. So money is intrinsically connected to living life according to your values. I'm trying to connect the two so it makes sense to you. And therefore, again, asking you, based on a couple of episodes before when I spoke about money values and your past, your present and your future, when we spoke about where we come from, who we are today and how we're going to change that for our future, that's exactly what I'm talking about here, is aligning that with your values. But first and foremost, you've got to know what your values are. And first and foremost, unlike me, you've got to understand that there is such a thing called values and they are the barometer, I guess, the thing that guides us in the way that we decide and the way that we live our lives. So my key points here is discover what's truly important to you, understanding that. And that takes some deep, maybe confronting questions. What is important to you? And again, the first time somebody asked me that, again, it sounds horrible. I was like clueless, but it was like, what do you mean what's important to me? It was almost like, what is this person asking me? But as they kept digging deeper, then all the things that meant the most to me in my life were, again, those values questions or those values stories that kept coming up. So I personally always say, who are you at your very core? What do you stand for? And what are your not negotiables? They're really key elements to understand, because when confronted with people who want to talk you into doing something, you need to come back to those three questions and be true to yourself. Otherwise, you will always live out of alignment and there will always be this sense of something doesn't feel right, something just isn't right, and not feeling true meaning in your life if you're not living according to your values. So they are a navigation system and they are a representation of who you are. And becoming aware of these values will give you a sharper focus and better clarity. And if you are unhappy with certain areas of your life, look at the values. Look at your values and see if they're aligned with your actions. So let me give you an example. If you value family, if you value putting time into your kids, if you value building relationships with your families, but you're working 16-hour days and you're never around, not in the morning, not in the evening, and you're never seeing your family, how's that going to fly? How does your actions, they don't align with what you're valuing? So you're going to feel a massive sense of there's going to be a massive conflict within. And at some point, until you realize that, you're going to have to change your actions to align with your values. It's only then that what we do and how we act until they're aligned with our values, that's the only time we're truly happy, fulfilled, and have a meaningful life. But again, in order to have all of that, we need to understand there's an economic reality and an economic currency that links to that. And so some of the questions that I really want to ask you in terms of providing some clarity in knowing what's important to you is, let's start by talking about what are the things that you care about the most? What are the things that get under your skin when you hear about something on the news or what's happened at school or what's happened in the workplace or anything that you're hearing within your circles? For me, for example, being injustice and the need for fairness always comes up when I hear of something going wrong and somebody not being treated right, or some kid being bullied at school, or something along those lines gets under my skin every single time and I start flaring up. And I know straight away that that is something I care deeply about. So the way to approach this is to sit and really give yourself that time and that space to think, what are some of the things that often come up and that really get under my nose and I get all worked up about? Usually it's the things that we get pissed off with that we know we care a lot about. And, you know, what is important to you in the whole scheme of your life, I guess? What are the key drivers that matter to you the most, that if they didn't exist, how would that make you feel living your life without those things? Really digging deep into those sorts of questions, sometimes confronting, but often very, very enlightening and valuable, and will serve you in a greater way if you're prepared to do the hard work and sit in that uncomfortable space for a minute. But often you need some quiet stillness to allow those, to allow those thoughts to come into your head. And so values. Well, I mentioned a lot of the ones that came up for me, but, you know, there's compassion, there's humour, there's loyalty, again, there's justice. But let me share my two top ones that have just come up for me. Not come up for me. Let me explain this. I do my values assessment or questionnaire or update, if you like, every year. I usually do it around January. I don't like New Year's resolutions. I like to revisit my values. And I've got to say, at the very core, they don't change. What changes is the priority of these as I get older. So what's important to me hasn't really changed over the years, but what is more important to me now than it was maybe 5-10 years ago has changed. The priority of them has changed. And so for me, I went through that exercise again. The words came up again, and I looked for likeness. I looked for how I could group them together. And my two words at the moment, happy to share with you, is courage and freedom. They're my two big values. So I would encourage you to do these value exercises. They will surprise you, and they will give you a sense of, I guess, fulfillment and completion in who you are as an individual. And again, as I said, I do this every year and the priority changes. And that is when I know that I'm growing as an individual. So what I want to do is talk about bringing that back in line with money. So when you know what your values are, when you know what your not negotiables are, who you are, what you stand for, and what's important to you, it's only then that you can then set. So my next point here is goals. And these are what I call value-based goals. Why are value-based goals better than just goals for the sake of goals? Because they're sticky goals. They're going to be goals that you're going to not be able to give up because of the values piece, because of understanding who you are, what you stand for, and what your not negotiables are. And when you align the goals that you set for the rest of your life with your values, they are going to be the most authentic version of yourself, and you're not going to want to give them up. You know, when the going gets tough, the tough get going. You're not going to want to give them up, and you're going to stick by those goals. So when you set certain goals that are aligned with your values, and those are aligned with the money piece that you've got, there is no stopping you really at the end of the day. What's important is making sure those three things line up. So as I've mentioned, they're authentic, they're connected to who you are, these particular goals, and they're sticky and they keep you motivated. And just on goals, these days with social media and so many images and so many have-to-dos that are imposed upon us as individuals, sometimes it's easy to get confused as to, well, maybe I should be doing that and everybody else is doing it. Maybe I've got it wrong. It gets you to question the values that you'd already set up and you've been comfortable with, but it gets you questioning that. So what's really important is that when you do set value-based goals, that they are not nice to have or want to have or following the pack. They are real and they are authentic, and they are sticky goals that will help you or guide you through that next stage of setting those particular goals. And goals are really the fundamental blocks for your future, because goals are the action piece that you put into place that come from your values. So understanding the importance of setting values and knowing how to set them is crucial. And let me just share something with you. This is extraordinary. Did you know that only 20% of people actually set goals for themselves? 20, that's all. And of those 20%, only 30% succeed. So that's 6% of those out of the 20 that achieve their goals. That's not a lot, right? I'm guessing setting goals is a must if you want a better life. And here's a few tips from me that I do when I set my goals. You've got to write them down. Actually, writing them down creates something in black and white that's real, and it's almost like it sounds a bit odd saying, you got to put it out there, but you do. You literally got to put it out there. You got to get it out of your head, and you got to get it out in the world, and that makes it real. So write it down, share it with someone. So openly saying it out of your mouth and vocalizing the goal, so it's out in the universe. It's not woo-woo, it's real, I promise you. I come from a science background, so for me to say that, you got to know it's real. Sharing the goal with someone, and sharing it with someone that you value and is non-judgmental and is just going to listen to what you've got to say is really, really important and powerful. So be really careful about the people you choose, and visualizing your goal. I spoke about visualization in one of the previous podcasts, and visualization is so important. I'd read something about crystal visualization probably 40 odd years ago, but visualizing, creating pictures in your mind of what it looks like, and the subconscious mind somehow finds its pathway to get you there. So write them down, share them with someone you trust, and visualize every single day. If you can, in the morning and in the evening before you're not off to bed. It makes a huge difference. One of the other things that I will share with you that I'm guessing all of you know, they're called SMART goals, right? So SMART goals is one of the ways, or the structures that I use to set goals, and it provides a fantastic framework. And I'm going to give you a little example there. But SMART goals is obviously they are specific, they're measurable, they're achievable, they're relevant, and they're time-based. So an example is, so you could say to your friend, I need to lose some weight. That's a goal. I'm going to lose weight this year. Yeah, but you didn't tell me any of the stuff. How are you going to lose weight this year? Well, I'm going to lose 5 kilos in 3 months by eating fish twice a week, steak twice a week with salad, no carbs. I'm going to quit drinking. I'm only going to have water, and I'm going to go to the gym 2 times a week. See how that is, time-based, it's relevant, it's specific, it's all measurable, rather than saying, I'm going to lose weight this year, I'm going to lose weight, da-da-da-da-da, as I explained. So that really helps break it down into specific and measurable, and making sure that it's achievable and it's relevant as well. So there it is, the values, and then the values-based goals, and aligning that with money is incredibly powerful to how it will play out in your life. And it has changed the way that I look at money. It has changed the way I actually guide myself in my own life. So I wanted to share that with all of you. Make sure to subscribe now to our podcast on your favourite podcast platform. We are launching the first 4 episodes, so you can go ahead and listen to them all now. Simply subscribe. Thank you for joining me, and I look forward to sharing with you some more stuff over the series of this podcast.